That's why.
Oh, absolutely.
We lost our pledge of allegiance first. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
So, hi, the meeting is called to order. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Excuse me. The meeting is called to order. I want to thank you all for being here tonight and for now meeting our pet bat. So, the second thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think due to the bat, we might have lost our leader of the Pledge of Allegiance. No worries. We will have her come back next time. So if you'll all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America,
and to the republic which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forgot the words there, so busy watching the back. Okay, Dave.
Okay. All right, at this point, we will go to our roll call. The following council members, if you're here, please signify. At this point, council member Ambroselli is out of town, so he's not here. Council member Cheryl.
Here.
Council member Bragstad.
Here.
And Mayor Staples.
Here, thank you very much, Dave. Do we have a quorum?
You do.
Okay.
I turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 4, appointments and seating of city council. As you know, we've had an opening on city council and posted the letters for community members who were interested. Melanie Anguez, I've submitted a letter of interest, which is part of the packet tonight. We're not going to read it. It's part of the packet that's been available to everyone. But Melanie, if you'd stand, and council members, are there any questions for Melanie? Susan?
No.
Bruce?
No.
I have no questions for Melanie. Without further ado, come up to take the oath of office.
We should tell her we don't usually have a bat in the room.
Yeah, special occasion.
And repeat after me. I, Melanie Anguez,
I, Melanie Anguez,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Welcome, Melanie. Okay.
Well, thank you.
It's a real special time. Passing on.
Looking just
Yeah,
neat. I'm
just
kidding. Thanks.
Okay, so that's item 4A. Welcome, Melanie. We now have 4 members here, which is wonderful. Item 4B is the nomination of an election of officers. We've been without a full quorum here 2 months and without a vice mayor. So we need to proceed with nomination and election so that we go forward with smooth governance. We just can't go 3 months without a vice mayor. So we'll start with a nomination for mayor, and then after that vote, we'll proceed to a nomination for vice mayor.
I nominate you, Sandy, for mayor.
I'll second it.
We will take a vote on that. Susan,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Melanie?
Aye.
That's 4 and 1 absent. So thank you all very much for your vote of confidence. We need a nomination for vice mayor.
I nominate Bruce Sherrill for vice.
You're gonna go, not me.
If you don't miss any meetings, I'll do it.
Do my best.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't need a second for nominations. It's just a matter of form, so we'll just go to roll call vote. And we do roll call because we're projecting onto our YouTube channel, just for everyone who's here. Susan,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Melanie.
Aye.
Aye, so that's 4 ayes and 1 absent. Thank you. Bruce is elected vice mayor for the next year. Item 5 are proclamations and correspondence, and just included in the packet is the letter of invitation to Lennon, who will be invited back next month. Email from Trudy Bauman and Sam Calhoun dated 5 February 25. Email from Coney Austin dated 5 February 25. Those are included in the packet and do not need to be read into the record. Item 6 on the agenda is approval of city council regular meeting agenda for tonight, 20 February 2025. Before we move to that, there are 2 additions. On dated February 17th after 7 p.m., which is the end of the Brown Act limitation on adding elements to an agenda. I received emails from Kat with 7 additional letters. There are copies of those in the back for anyone who wants them. The members have them up in their folders. If anyone would like copies and there aren't enough to go around, you're welcome to come Monday morning and ask our city clerk to make you copies of those letters. But they could not be added to the draft agenda because they came after the Brown Act deadline. Otherwise, we can move forward with approving, with those additions, approving the agenda as submitted. Are there any? Okay, is there a second? I second. Oh, good job. Motion to approve the agenda by Bragstead, second by Unges, and we will do roll call vote. Susan,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Melanie.
Aye.
And Sandy, aye. So 4 ayes and 1 absent. The 7th item on the agenda is public comment, and I have to read this part, just bear with me. Under provisions of the California Code, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. State your name and residence if not within the limits of Amador City or group affiliation for the record. Limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Under provisions of the California Code, the City Council cannot take action unless an urgent need arose after the posting of the agenda. And this is just a reminder, this is public comment related to items that are not on the agenda. And I'm going to ask individuals who would like to address the council with their comment to come forward to that blue line because our microphone is not top quality and we won't be able to record your comments. So is there any public comment this evening?
Mayor, I have one. So this didn't make it to the agenda that occurred today. So just so the public's aware as well as the council, given my position with the city, I was invited to attend the TAC meeting for ACRA. This afternoon, we had preliminary meetings. At this meeting, there was a discussion, so the public's aware. Before the formation of ACRA, there was a old nexus with DIF money, which is deferred infrastructure funds of approximately $900,000. That money, if not encumbered for projects through ACRA, is lost to the county. I know the county can use its fair share of money, but there's also new money, a new nexus of $588,000. Again, these are funds that are shared throughout the county. The reason that it affects us is through the negotiations today with the cities of Jackson, Ione, Plymouth was not present, but submitted, as well as Sutter Creek. We were able to come to a resolution that would allow Amador City to receive $50,000 for the completion of Colbert Park.
Susan.
So Colbert Park will go forward.
Mhm.
It now has to go before the ACRA board and then the Board of Supervisors. But this is a project that's been long in the wait for Amador City, so it's pretty exciting news, given what we're trying to do. And so I wanted to share that this evening so that the council's aware of it. Again, we've got a few more hurdles, but given the fact that the money is going to be dispersed throughout the entire county, there's a good chance that ACRA will support it as well as the Board of Supervisors. Because again, if we don't use this money, it's lost.
Nice. Well, thank you,
Great.
Dave. Great, great. Good job for Amador City. Thank you. Is there any other public comment for this evening? Okay, with that, I'll close public comment and we'll go on to the consent calendar items. I'm going to digress a minute. A bunch of years ago, I was bit by a dog that did not have its shots. And I've been through rabies shots already. So I'm a good one to chase this out if we need to, because I don't need to go through all that again. I just get a booster. I know.
Somebody should open that window over there.
That we are able to open our, well,
Yeah, we have, no,
no, this,
Yeah.
like, for instance, this window here is broken, and if we touch it, it'll fall out.
wow, yeah,
So again, all part of the pantry model of the structure.
yeah. So wish we could. So we're on to the consent agenda items. All matters listed under the consent agenda calendar are to be considered routine by city council and will be enacted in one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless before the city council votes on the motion to adopt, members of council, staff, or the public request a specific item to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. The two items on the consent calendar are the regular meeting agenda minutes from the last meeting, 16th of January, 2025, and the financial report. Is there a request to have an item pulled out from staff? Hello? So they'll be considered as a package. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar items as presented?
So moved.
There's a motion to accept the consent calendar items as presented. There's a second.
I second.
Motion by Susan Bragstead, second by Melanie Unges. We will vote. Susan?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Melanie? Aye. Staples, ayes. That's 4 ayes and 1 absent. Thank you very much. We don't have ordinances or public hearings this evening, so we're on to the regular agenda items. I just want to review the process for regular agenda items. For each agenda item, the item will be read, and then there'll be a report or additional details from the individual who submitted the item. There'll be questions from council on a roll call basis to the person who submitted is giving the report. Those questions will be closed. Those are questions only. He's free. He's free. Okay.
You know, a lot of pull there.
I just threatened rabies.
So it went in.
It went out. Okay. Good job. Okay. I'll repeat that. The order for regular agenda items, the item will be read. It'll be turned over to the individual who submitted it. It'll be available for more report or details. It'll come back to city council for questions only, and it'll be on a roll call basis. Questions will be closed and it'll be open to public comment. And it'll be just like public comment otherwise, you state your name, comment however you want for 5 minutes, and then it'll go round robin for that. The public comment will be closed, and then it'll come back to council for further discussion if needed. The first item on the agenda is 10A O'Neill Alley. And the item is discussion and possible action by motion and vote of city council members regarding reimbursement of encroachment fee to Gary Brusatori. I turn it to Dave.
All right, so just kind of a brief history here for the council. On O'Neill Alley, there was a dispute between neighbors as to who possessed the right, who had the ability to be here or there. And so it led to a few years ago, the council deciding to grant property to a single individual on that street. The neighbors objected to it. And through that objection came to city council about a year or so ago. And in the process, both neighbors were informed that the process done prior on a prior city council many years ago that granted that right was actually incorrect, that the city couldn't do that. And so the city attorney advised that they would need to come in and file the appropriate application and appropriate fee. So Mr. Brusatori came in subsequent to that meeting and paid approximately $800 and filed his application. That then, after it was processed by office staff, was then sent to Weber Gio for their evaluation and then a return on what needed to be done for either of the parties. Subsequent to that happening, but prior to the city taking any action, Mr. Brusatori sent a letter via email to Weber Gio after having a conversation with Rourke Weber saying that he no longer wanted to proceed with the project and asked that the project then be handled more by the city for a determination for the two individuals that were in dispute. Based on that, then Mr. Brusatori came to the city and asked if there was any possibility of a refund of his application. Mr. Brusatori was informed that while there are fees associated with it, any possible refund could be made if work was ceased via his email prior to that allotment in that application fee being used. I reached out to Matt Hospital over at WGA, and he did look at all of the invoices as every entry in the time card is stamped. So understand that we did receive a bill as a city for approximately $1,900. And so the question became for us to look into is, of that $1,900, did any of that work take place after Mr. Brusatori's email asking him to cease? It looks like only an hour and a half of work took place following that email. So of that $1,900, approximately a very small amount of it is there. But what Mr. Brusatori has asked the council to consider, so I bring to you today, of that $1,900, there is an $1,100 balance that the city has paid because the work didn't go forward. Would the council like to take up any motion or steps to refund any of the money to Mr. Brusatori out of the $700 or $800 that he paid?
Okay, so questions to Dave for details for clarification, not opinion. Are there any questions, Susan?
The permit was 800 and the city paid what, 1,100?
$1,900 in total. So of that 1,900, the 800 would have gone to that. So there's a difference, a balance of about $1,100 the city paid, which, sorry, had the project been completed, those fees then would have been paid by Mr. Brusatori. But Mr. Brusatori didn't want to proceed. So his maximum payment is the 800 of the 1,900. But since he didn't have since nothing came of it, he is asking the city for a potential refund of that application fee.
Okay, I don't quite understand where the 1,900.
That's the total we were billed by the work that was performed by Weber Gio, subsequent to us sending the application that was filed by Mr. Brusatori to the city. Does that make sense now, Susan?
It kind of.
So essentially what it is, Mr. Brusatori brings the application, pays
Yeah.
the $800, we process it as a city, send it to Weber Gio. Weber works on it for the amount of time that is billed $1,900.
So we had to pay,
We
we're
have
having
had
to
to
pay
pay.
that.
Correct. It's already been paid.
Mhm. Okay, any questions, Bruce?
No, I'm not sure why we should pay or refund.
That's opinion.
No,
Okay.
No questions.
Okay,
no question.
any questions? Susan, you can go back to you. Do you have any more questions?
No.
Okay. Any public comment on this issue? Public comments closed, so we can deliberate on it now. Opinion.
Well, no, that's okay.
No, this is the moment.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's too bad it went as far as it did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, we got billed for it, we paid it. You know,
Mhm.
I don't see it's our responsibility to refund money.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't like paying
I mean, we've already paid
for,
it.
for
Yeah.
something he brought up and then canceled,
Mhm.
and we're stuck with paying the bill.
Mhm. Anything to add, Melanie? Okay. I don't have anything to add either. So after deliberation, do we have a motion for a vote? A motion towards this action to either refund or not refund?
I'll make a motion that we not refund the money.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion from Bruce Sherrill, seconded by Susan Bregstead to say at this point, the money's been spent. We're not going to refund the money. I repeated the okay. So any other discussion or amendment to that? That's okay? All right, then we'll go to a vote.
Aye.
I,
Aye, 4 ayes, and we will, the motions pass to not refund any portion of the fee.
I will deliver the news to Mr. Brusatori.
Okay, thank you. Brown Act, item 10B, Brown Act training. This is discussion only. Dave will be conducting a training on the Brown Act, also known as the Sunshine Laws, with the 2025 updates. And that will be scheduled for city council members in March and open to staff and public if they'd like to come and be in the audience for it. We'll post when that's going to happen. There are links there to the 2024 Brown Act handbook by Lozano and Smith. They do a good job putting the handbooks together, and a link to their updates. They have not put together a 2025 book yet, so that will be available for us to study before our training. And we'll just let everybody know when that's going to be scheduled. Okay, it'll be on the website and we'll post it in town, and I'll let you know. But we all have to participate in that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll take kind of a survey of best times for that on a Thursday. So item 10C, Old Grammar School, Old City Hall, discussion only regarding the rebuilding of Old Grammar School beginning in April of 2025 and the forced relocation of City Hall. The attachments, and there were many, are put in 4 groupings. Attachment A is Amador City Resolution number 620, which was passed in September of 2023, declaring this a state of emergency, and that there's emergency electricity to this building, to this room only. And at any point that that's ended, which it will be in April of 2025, this building cannot be used for city business any longer, or this room. Attachment B, open letter to the community, February 3rd, 2025, construction on the Old Grammar School, and Larry White will be giving a verbal report on updates to this business. Attachment Group C, commercial rental agreement, Old City Hall, letter from Amador City to the tenants regarding PG&E payments, 60-day lease termination notice, City of Amador City, dated January 30th, 2025. Letter of response from Wine Tree Farms and Sunset Hill Designs regarding the utility payments, dated February 6th. Letter Wine Tree Farms and Sunset Hill Designs, no date, regarding the notice that the lease was being ended March 31st, 2025. The group of 11 documents in attachment D, the letter from Wine Tree Farms and Sunset Hill Designs, no date, requesting to be part of the agenda item, and the request to have 13 documents, 14 pages submitted by Wine Tree Farms, Sunset Hill Designs of letters and or emails or their own documents. So they're all in the packet, and they're not going to be read into the record tonight. They are part of the record tonight. Just wanted to review what documents we have and may refer to in the discussions tonight. And I'm going to turn discussions over to Dave, our city administrator, our city attorney, Pat Keene, and our city engineer, Larry White. So take it away.
Can I say one thing before?
Not yet.
Oh,
So just a brief history here. Again, everyone might be aware, but it's, I think, good for the council to consider this. On March 27th of 2024, through the city and arrangements, a lease was tendered to the city for the old commercial building, which occupies the firehouse with the fire engine. Then that lease was to begin on April 15th, 2024 as a month to month. In that, there is a term in that lease that both parties agreed to, that if a tenancy, either on the part of the tenant or the landlord required for a change in that tenancy or a termination, then notice was to be given. Their occupancy began shortly thereafter and renovations took place. As everyone may be aware, almost 2 years ago, this building was involved in a fire, which again is been in the process through all the remediation, which took a lot longer than we expected, given that it's an old building and we had lead paint and other asbestos. Just to get the remediation removed took a extended period of time, which required that to take place before we could have the crew come in order to assess it, including our insurance company to make a bid. Beginning in January, we did finally get to the point where we could submit for bids. We did have the submission of bids from the contractors with the caveat that construction would begin on this building beginning April 15th. So spurring that, given the responsibilities delegated to me through the city council, I did act as the city administrator to have to determine the best needs for the city, and that included where we would conduct business as a city hall, as we're required to do so. So the considerations there included not only ADA compliance, but also OSHA requirements, as these are very important given the fact that we already have a situation where we're extended privilege of having insurance that will cover these extensive repairs. The city wants to reduce any possibility of any liability there, because again, we're already taxed. And as many people know, as multiple claims go against the insurance, and given the insurance in California, we have to be very careful so that we don't lose that coverage. It is maybe a misnown fact in the community that the hours in the city hall are limited to just the time that the clerk spends here is 4 hours. It is on average 15 to 30 hours that staff spends in this facility, not only to occupy for incoming public, but also for retention of records and access to records, as well as other meetings and obligations that the city does have. So based on that, we are required to not only have a place where the public can come safely and staff can be, but we're also required to have access to all the documents and records. And as the council may be aware, the public may not, we've had a definite influx of public records requests. And so to not have access to that. So given the fact that this building will be under construction and this entire area will not be accessible, we looked at the different options. Of the 3 options we looked at were to rent another space that were available, something that would fit within not only the city budget, but would meet our needs. And unfortunately, that was not an option. Also, the other option would be to rent a trailer at the expense of the city, which there's a potential for reimbursement by insurance, but at this point, insurance is not confirmed that'll take place. Just to have the trailer set and the first month is more than we collect in rent from our current old city hall. But we're looking at potentially $60,000 for the placement of a trailer for a year. With that, and again, there's the potential we could get reimbursed, but there's absolutely no guarantee. The other problem that we face is there's no location, given the construction zone here, that we could place a trailer. Because if you look forward into this construction project, you're going to have fencing around this building to protect the public. You're also going to have equipment and workers. So one of the things we considered is the impact on the neighborhood up here that would have, because the only potential site could be right here, which is currently under construction by Amador Water. And so then the other one was based upon the need. The city does own 3 properties, being this one here, the museum, which is encumbered under restriction by deed, and then the old grammar, or excuse me, the old city hall. So based upon this emergent need and exigent circumstances, I elected to, in council with the mayor, but as my decision is delegated to work on the real estate, elected to give notice that we were going to terminate the lease within 60 days. Now, let me just briefly explain this. I'll turn the time over to our attorney. I elected for 60 days because I understand that it's an inconvenience for a business to have to move, especially a business with an ABC license. So the requirements there for them to move. And so instead of going with the required 30 days by law for commercial release, we gave 60 days We also have waived their fees for their business license and also the permit for the outside dining. Just because, again, we're trying to accommodate them. Again, we understand it's an inconvenience and a hardship to some, but unfortunately, this is the best option for the city, both fiscally and by using the property that we already have. So now I'll give the time to Pat.
Thank you.
My analysis was limited to the legality of it. I reviewed the lease and rental agreement. It is a month-to-month tenancy, which means either party can terminate it upon 30 days written notice of the other. 60 days is required only in certain circumstances in a residential lease, which this is a commercial lease. And the notice that I reviewed also was in proper form. So they're legally enforceable. I mean, that's the extent of my review and involvement of this. The business decisions as to the options for the city, that's for the city and the council and the city administrator to deal with. The legal issues are very simple and it's very clear. The notices were properly given and the lease is it's not a lease, it's a rental agreement for month-to-month tenancy. And the way you terminate a month-to-month tenancy under California law is by a 30-day notice, and a 60-day notice would more than suffice in that regard.
Thank you, Pat. Larry, how are we doing?
Absolutely wonderful.
Great.
We are at a long road to get to this point. We've gotten remediation done. We've had the ability to get plans and specifications put together for the rehab. We've had bidders bid the project. We've received those bids back. They are currently at the insurance company for review and approval for reimbursement. As far as the construction goes, you mentioned a little bit about the electrical. First stage one of the plan and the project is to remove the entire roof off the front building. So access to this portion of the building stops right then. Through the process, there's going to be a lot of dirt, a lot of dust. So we like to say in the construction industry, you got to break some eggs to bake a cake, and it's going to be a mess here. And for the safety of not only the contractor, but the general public and the efficiency of the work, that's why I presented to the council that we're where we are today.
Larry, you told me the roof over the unit that burned only had to be replaced, not the entire roof.
You can have opportunity for questions in a second.
Oh,
Thank you. And you will be first. Okay. I didn't know if you had more to add to that one.
No, that's,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
unless asked.
Okay. And I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I was premature. Susan, you had a question.
I'm not gonna repeat it.
The entire roof framing to the top plate on the front portion will be removed.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, but you
This-
said the entire roof was gonna be replaced.
I was referring to the area that was damaged by the fire. Through the process, we are also looking at having this roof, the roofing removed and resheeted and have the roof repaired to correct the leaking here.
The metal roofing.
The metal roofing, yes. We, as part of the project, as I mentioned to you before, we're not replacing the roof material. We're removing it, we're sorting it, saving it, and putting it back so that we do not affect the architectural character of the structure.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
also save money.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to buy new metal roof.
Mhm. Bruce, questions?
No questions.
Melanie, any questions?
I have, when did we know that we wouldn't be able to use this building? During the construction?
I know that.
Okay,
It was January 16th. Dave, you, Frank, and I were meeting at Weber Geo, and you confirmed from the insurance company that they would not cover us for liability and safety as of the start of the construction.
okay. I didn't remember that date.
I had to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question? Do you have any more questions for them? we will go around. So if you think of, if anybody thinks of something else until we don't have any more.
Excuse,
Uh-huh,
could you give me the year, January of 2024?
25,
Thanks.
uh-huh.
So
Sorry,
until then, it was thought that possibly we'd be able to continue meeting here during the construction.
naivete. I was thinking it was, drape some tarps,
Yeah.
but no. And no one else asked that question either. Not the last mayor or last council or
Well, I will add,
community.
as part of the construction project and the plans, in order to meet the ADA standards of this building, so a lot of it has to be understood with the context of, we're not just repairing the building.
Right.
We're repairing the building to the current building codes and
Yeah.
ADA, and so what that will do is the hallway that we all entered here, there's gonna be significant changes to that hallway to accommodate the two apartments as well as the ADA requirements for this building and those apartments. And so, again, access through this hallway is completely limited, and we didn't learn that until again, after the remediation had taken place. And then we were starting to work with the insurance, and the insurance was then cluing us into the idea of this is what you're gonna need and this is what we're willing to pay for. So that everybody understands, part of the battle has been the insurance looks at it and says, hey, you're trying to better your building through a disaster. And our contention the whole time has been, we are not. We simply have to meet certain codes, and so in order to do that, the one part that goes to that, any improvements above and beyond what the insurance is willing to do will then be on the city's dime and responsibility to make those. So we're trying to, again, limit those because the city has very limited resources.
Right.
So we collect a very small amount in sales tax each year, about 13,000. The majority of revenue comes from property taxes, registration fees for vehicles, and then TOT. And so again, we have to be very fiscally prudent when it comes to that. Otherwise, we'll end up like a lot of the cities in California with bankruptcies on the record.
And with that, we were not approved for the total scope of the repairs from the insurance company until just prior to us putting the project out to bid in December.
Mhm.
When we did our public notice, that was when they finally said, okay, we agree that this is, because I had quite a few discussions with them because they kept saying, what you're doing is a betterment to the building.
Mhm.
Yes, you have repairs that need to be done. Yes, you have code upgrade. However, you cannot do a betterment. And my first statement to him is the building's over 100 years old. If we pressure wash it, it's a betterment. Now, had I known about the bats, I'd have told him if we got the bats out, it'd be a betterment. So that was and that was in December when we went out to bid that we finally got that. And now we're still, as of today, still having a discussion with the insurance company with the bid that's back, specifically regarding
Mhm.
the expense.
Mhm. Yeah. It's I remember when I happened to be in the room when you and Dave were talking, the insurance person, the engineers were here, and
Yeah.
the comment was on betterment, and I said, we have to adhere to the housing element. The
Right.
housing element stood us in good stead because it has all those requirements for ADA that the insurance company hadn't been acknowledging.
Right,
Yeah.
and also the housing element with the rentable units.
Yes, they have to be. That was really what drove it.
And the insurance company, quite honest, is very frustrating to deal with.
Aren't they?
I'll just leave it at that.
So we'll go around again. Any more questions?
Well, I have a question about discussion only and no action. And I'd like to read this sentence under a public comment. That under provisions of the California Government Code, the city council cannot take action unless an urgent need arose after the posting of the agenda. And I think that might be the situation we're in.
That's not applicable to, that deals with an urgent need that has come up in the city after the agenda. This was posted, that's if it comes up as under the Brown Act. This has followed the Brown Act according to the prescribed rules already in place. So this had there's nothing urgent or has changed since the posting of this agenda.
I think the timing is questionable.
What timing, Susan?
Well, it seems like it came up later than the agenda.
No,
To
this has
me.
been ongoing for, because if you look back on what even the agenda here outlines the timeline for when these actions have taken place by the city. All of these dates, with the exception of the letters received, of 7 letters that were received after the posting agenda, all those dates precede the posting of the agenda.
We're getting away from questions and into discussion. I'm gonna see if we can clarify this a little bit. We were noticed, so we had stated that we got final notification. I'm sorry, I need to go to others before it's me. I have to go last. I'm forgetting protocol. Any more questions, Bruce, Melanie? So we acknowledge that the city was told on January 16th, 2025, certainly, we were not going to be covered by the insurance company for safety or liability, and we're not going to be able to use this building for city business. So after that, what date was notice given to the tenants?
We gave notice on the 30th of January.
One of the letters, and I know that the letter that's in attachment D from
So
with this section.
let me take a step back there. So, notice was given to the tenants
Mhm.
by word of mouth from a city employee.
Well, I'm going to that.
Based upon the city's, we had a staff meeting and that was discussed. And the discussion was how that was to be handled, given the situation. And the discussion was that, an individual, personally myself, would make some contact. Unfortunately, that contact was made before the letters were sent.
Mhm.
Again, even though the decision was in the works, it hadn't been finalized, but yet they were given that information prior to. And then based upon that, again, the finalization of it, and then the letters were sent after there was an attempt to do it personally. When contact wasn't made, they were sent via certified mail with return receipt to the city.
Okay, so that was January 30th, and I want to have city council members, if you'll indulge me, go to section 10CD, letter in there. So if you, Dave, would open that. And it's our letter, the letter from Wine Tree Farm in Sunset Hill. And, oh, wait a sec, I'm on the wrong section. So I can't even keep my own section straight here. Okay, it's the last document in the attachments C. And it's a response to your notification.
I'd like to comment.
And you can't yet.
I know.
Okay, so we're writing in response to the letter dated January 30th, but only received on February 3rd, requesting us to vacate our location. Then the last line there on that paragraph, we were surprised to see the letter posted on the website and around town before we were notified. And then I'd like us to go to the letters that are submitted. The first one, it's page 3 of 14 with the next section, section 10C. Section 10, it's, yeah, the lowercase d. And it's a letter, Dave, if you'll indulge me, it's a letter from whom? It's the one called 3 of 14.
3 of 14.
Mm-hmm.
This is a letter from Kat Leong.
Yep, but the email is from Kevin Carter to Kat and Craig, and what's the date of that?
January 31st, 2025 at 8:02 a.m.
And it says, happy to have the city use the tavern space while there's construction going on. So this was prior to February 3rd when they got their notification in the mail. So the supposition is this is the information that leaked from City Hall.
Well, the
Or
only
is
thing
it?
that I can clue into, again, I can only work on the facts that I have. I mean, the facts here. The letters that were sent out to notify, again, there's been a lot of confusion about eviction. It's not an eviction, it's a notice to terminate the lease. Those letters were sent on the 30th, which was Thursday, prior to the closure of our post office. And return receipt was first received from Corinne, one of the business owners. Cats came much later. So we didn't get that in the mail, because what happens is when certified letter with receipt, once that individual item is picked up from the individual's PO box, that individual receipt is then placed in our PO box. We did receive Corinne's first, Cats came later. But again, that would be dependent also upon when staff check the mail.
But we're getting letters here that say there was knowledge prior to that.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, Susan? You had another one?
Well, I'm upset that none of this came to the city council.
Well, to answer that, as part of my job description and in my contract, city council had approved that I manage the city properties. That's my delegated responsibility, and as such, I acted under that responsibility. Again, my job is to report to the city council, which I have been doing all along in the city council meetings. In my report, which again will occur this evening, it was brought to the council's attention that there was a potential that we would have to relocate. Again, I didn't have that information until the mid part of January. So again, I acted under the authority based upon what I've been delegated to do and did weigh the options. Again, you can also see that the time spent between the 16th and the 30th was time spent investigating what would be best for the city and its residents. Because again, that's who I report to the city council, but that's who I represent.
And we have no.
You already delegated that authority to me, Susan. When you signed my contract.
But we're responsible for what's gonna happen.
But you've already delegated that authority to me. Months and months ago, when you hired me to do this job, you gave me that responsibility. So you've entrusted me with it. And so I have to that's the point. I have to make some tough decisions. I know that it affects the business. I know that it affects the public, but it also affects the city as a whole and the residents as a whole. And therefore I acted appropriately. I didn't act outside the bounds of my authority, the authority that's already been granted to me. And I did consult with the mayor. This is not something I did unilaterally. I did consult with the mayor, who is the executive of the city council, and in her limited capacity due to the Brown Act, can report to you, which she has done in accordance with this meeting by putting it on the agenda.
I think you should have called a special meeting, so we could have been in on.
Maybe a review of the Brown Act.
Okay, you're welcome to our Brown Act training when that occurs.
Can't wait.
Okay. Okay, I wanna,
Well, you now have to open for public comment.
I do. Susan, you've opened us up to public comment. Thank you. So we'll close questions from city council members and we'll open it to public comment. I want to say again, comments are limited to 5 minutes. Please come forward so you're recorded for the YouTube channel and state your name and residence if you do not live within the Amador city limits.
I'll clarify something, first of all, in regards to the 5 minute. When you started this meeting, you stated that people that asked to be on the agenda would have an opportunity to talk after you finish this part that you just did.
Each 5 minutes, each
That's not what you
person.
stated. You stated then the public would have 5 minutes. That's not what you stated. I'm just stating it, so, okay? I'll read it in 5 minutes.
We already have this.
No, you don't. This is something that you didn't have.
Yeah, these
First of all, where do you want me to stand? Where do you want me to face?
blue line right there.
Which, this blue line?
Sure.
There's blue lines all over.
One's for the children.
That's
So-
Yeah.
Right
I
there.
First and
suppose
foremost,
speaker.
we believe that this is a retaliatory, and this is why. We signed the lease the end of March with the Staple and city clerk. On April 29th, we came to this office, we spoke to Ms. Stevens and to the councilperson Greg staff regarding contractors coming out to look at our window frame that was falling apart and rotting, dropping into the window that was rotting. We left here requesting reimbursement for a lock to a door that was not securely closing because it was rotting in the wood and there was no strike plate. We were given an okay by the mayor at that time to purchase a lock with a budget of $75 and told to submit a receipt. It was suggested that we paint the interior and had been given permission to install more appropriate energy saving light fixtures. We requested a break in the first month's rent by 2 weeks while we cleaned up, painted, and repairs walls and vents that were open that were empty wall spaces at our expense. That request was approved by the mayor as well. Then that discussion, she asked that we forward all this information on to her. We did so, including the fact that she had approved these 2 items. On May 2nd, Mr. Groth sent us an email denying it. He stated, "I hope you do not feel singled out by this information. If so, that is not the case. My intention is not to create such an environment." This statement in itself, I believe, states exactly what was intended. Our first meeting with Mr. Groth was met by a comment that we could be required to return the walls back to the natural color. This before even stepping foot inside of the store to see what we had done. We had found some electrical wires that were not properly covered and lined. We wanted to address the windows that was falling out of the frames. He further stated that the mayor and the clerk did not have the right to rent the property to us without going through him and considering other potential tenants. We personally feel that his religious beliefs may impact the desire to rent to city-owned buildings, which he is the landlord. This business provides alcohol. On May 1st, we met with Larry White regarding the use of the patio. We submitted and paid for the patio dining permit that he required. He told us to contact the environmental health and ensure that we did not need water on the site. He asked that when we did so, to have I believe it was Jose, send an email to both Larry and Mr. Roth. On June 1st, the mayor put pride flags up in the city. Becky from Creaky Cupboard exchanged some words with her over it. I told her you could put the flag on our sign or on our building. On June 29th, I sent the mayor a message and told her that the flag was being damaged on a nail and that I had taken it down. I returned it to the closet where it belonged, but the door was locked. She told me that it was not my responsibility and to put the pride flag back up, that they would be switched out July 1st. On July 6th, we had our grand opening. On July 8th, we received a letter from the mayor telling us that the city was asking us to resubmit our sidewalk dining permit. Apparently, it was just being discovered that the original had been filed without going through all the proper channels. The mayor apologized for the timing of this 2 days after we had our grand opening, when we had submitted this paperwork 3 months prior. On July 13th, the mayor emailed us again, just a reminder, until a complete application packet for sidewalk service dining is submitted to the city engineer, reviews it, walks through the city properly and approves it, issuing the permit, there will be no sidewalk service, no dining, no tables. The tables, stools, umbrellas, signage, and decorations need to be removed for the time being. On July 15th, our American flag and pole disappeared. I asked the mayor if he had removed them, and she stated no, that she gave up that position when I made a comment about why is the mayor handling the flags that ACBCA normally handles. Okay, so that was our initial why we feel we're being targeted. The fire was 2 years ago, plenty of time to figure out what you guys could do. The plan states exactly what was considered, exactly what was the cost. There's nothing, it doesn't say. It doesn't say what costs were involved. It says that could the city afford? Who knows? We don't know what the financials are. They're not in the report. Was a community, we as the community don't feel these answers. Don't know these answers because none were provided. As we believe that this opinion just came to light, had not been thought of 10 months ago when we rented, we would have not spent our time and money that we did to upgrade this building. The mayor's letters was in fact absolute truth and factual. Why was it all done in such an unethical and non-transparent manner? Why were the members of the council not informed and involved in such an important plan? Is it responsible for the city to proceed with poorly conceived plan that will have negative impact on the city? Is it responsible for the use of public funds to secure other options? Is the loss of our rent not public funds? The mayor's final paragraph has many hopes. Hope that giving us 2 months notice, well, we could secure another location. For the first time in roughly 5 years, there is no place open in Amador City. Every door is closed to a business. Hope that the old school be returned to its historic character. Why that's even there, I don't know. Hope Amador City retains its uniqueness in caring and empathetic community, all while being subjected to such uncaring and unempathetic actions by the people that serve them. Hope that the community knows the decision was taken seriously and made thoughtfully. Well, our hope is that the community can see through the smokescreen planted in front of them by the mayor and the city administrator. The mayor stated that the decision was not made lightly or frivolously, that it was taken seriously and made thoughtfully. Again, why she would feel the need to point such things out just to convince herself of the unjust actions. We researched and found other viable locations to conduct their business. Yes, before the date, you're right, because somebody gave us a heads up because you didn't have the decency to make a phone call you said you were going to do. So on that, when we contacted Kevin, we did that because you could have done that. You could have contacted Connie. You guys didn't do any of this stuff. We have given you 3 viable locations where you can do your business, all ADA compliant. Why are we being kicked out? That's our whole thing, okay? Regarding your electricity bill, in section 8 of our contract, it states we are liable for service actually used, and that the landlord would separately invoice tenants for tenants pro rata share of the charge. We paid $103 on August 6th, $125 on August 30th, without seeing any invoice in good faith when we were brought a bill. We received a letter from Mr. Groff dated January 15th, the day before he found out he was going to have to kick us out. This letter states that we owed 90% of the PG&E charges. This was given to us without any documentation, no copies of the PG&E bills. The information of this percentage came about from what we have hired a consultant to go through and detail the PG&E bills to come up with what we believe is a more accurate accounting of its usage. We will provide that data and the payment when the supporting documents are seen and our analysis is completed. Thank you.
Okay, my turn. Pat has basically mentioned everything. What I wanted to do right now is, I know you've all received a whole lot of wonderful letters from our supporting people, and but there were a lot of letters. So some of the key elements may have been missed because there was a lot to read. So I think I'm just going to read you some of the key points that came from those, the salient points that came from those letters. Why is it necessary to displace 2 thriving businesses in favor of a non-income producing council office? Your thoughtlessness and lack of forethought has certainly created a loss of trust. Where residents and businesses sent a letter requesting space, this is not how you support local entrepreneurship. This is not how you support the community. There must be another answer to this problem than to shut down one of the few retail businesses we have in town. As spring is almost upon us and tourism is ramping up, I ask that you reconsider evicting these businesses. How can you claim with this action that you hope Amador City retains its small town values and its caring and empathetic? To ask not 1, but 2 businesses to vacate without exploring other options feels rash and unfair. Please show some compassion and sensibility and allow these businesses to continue. City Council needs to support businesses, not defeat them. There does not appear to be a logical reason to evict these 2 businesses. The store brings such a unique shopping experience that it would be beneficial to allow them to stay. We leave you with a quote from American writer Anthony J. D'Angelo, Without a sense of caring, there can be no community, and I don't believe you care. It is the responsibility of council members to support successful businesses, not close them down. This is wrong all around, wrong in the treatment of loyal city business owners, wrong for the public who support them, and morally wrong. You would think better judgment would recognize the upcoming tourist season needs more charming and interesting businesses, not less. The mayor speaks of uniqueness as a caring and empathetic community. Closing to business in a struggling economy in a city that needs the revenue is extremely short-sighted. Not disclosing this to a potential tenant in advance creates a hostile business environment. I would ask you to find another location for the city office and not bully small businesses to shut down. This decision also seems wrapped up in hypocrisy. Given support to women leaders and business owners, to quote the keychain FAR given to mayors of Southwark Creek, Plymouth, and Ione, quote, know the power of women in leadership. She makes a difference. Regrettably, we are watching hypocrisy in action. Small business are needed to keep Amador City thriving. Please reconsider your decision. And to clarify the whole thing about when we received it and when we didn't. Yes, we had rumors, and that's why we started asking other businesses. We had heard about it, but we were told that we would get a letter or a phone call from Mr. Graf. When that didn't happen, we thought maybe things had changed. Maybe we weren't going to be evicted because we didn't get the letter, we didn't get a phone call, we didn't get a visit. I went to the post office religiously right up until the 3rd. On the 3rd, there was this letter dated the 30th that only arrived in my mailbox on the 3rd. And the letter was already posted for all of the community to see about how we were being evicted. That is so totally unprofessional. I can't, I'm all nervous now. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in this.
Additional public comment?
Yes,
Then,
I do.
yes.
Yeah, I think what the council
Mhm.
has chosen to do, they're doing something because they can, not because they should.
Mhm.
There are other options out there. One was pointed out a few nights ago to this gentleman, Mr. Grove, at my recent fire board meeting, offering the fire station and all of its facilities, office space, space for meetings, secure space for city records, ample space to hold a meeting. This is most people you've had here since anybody in this room can remember. And there's a couple up here that've been here for a lot longer than me. I've been here 25 years and I've been to a lot of these meetings and it's usually 1 or 2. So fire station is ADA compliant, bathrooms are fine, there's no problem there. The chief has graciously offered it. I serve on that board. I'm sure my board would approve it. And I just urge you to look at other options over what you initially chosen to do.
Yep, that's it. That's our podium.
I'm Sarah Allen,
Mhm.
have been for a long time, personal friend. I also rented that old city hall. because
Mhm.
We went in and made improvements also, not anywhere to the degree that they did.
Mhm.
But as an entrepreneur, you go in and you're gonna make your space as nice as you can for you, for the city, for your people that are coming in, for the
Mhm.
customer. And that said, they invested a lot of money. If they had been told, hey, you know, we don't know if someone in good faith had said this could happen, you know, it's a month-to-month rental, but guess what? It could be less than that. Nobody mentioned that. I do property management and we will put a tenant in the house where it's gonna go on the market for sale. Well, it's called good faith to tell them, this is not gonna be forever. And, you know, we may have to terminate your lease, but we don't put them in there and make them think they're gonna live there forever, and then boom, you're out. So I think good faith, and I believe that your city attorney would agree, that whatever contract you have in California is backed up by good faith. There's no good faith going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All the people there.
Mhm.
I don't think you've worked hard enough to find another solution. I think they need more time. And I think you're being foolish, quite frankly.
Mhm.
That's all I gotta say.
Okay, thank you.
Just to kind of piggyback on what that gentleman just said,
Mhm.
to my calculations, Groff, you said, Mr. Groff, you said that you took 2 weeks. You were notified and you had 2 weeks to kind of look for options.
There was 2 weeks between when we met in that meeting and said we had to be out.
That's not enough time. You need more time. You need to figure something out. You need to contact your county seat. You need to figure something else out. You're not taking enough time.
Okay,
My husband and I are business owners here. We have Bellflower Home and Garden right down by next to Imperial Hotel, Dan Schutz, my husband. And we have been in business 25 years. Never have we seen anything like this. 25 years. And most of the people, everybody works together. They keep each other informed. All of the business owners try really hard to make it. And lately, in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been hard. It's been tough. But I'd like to read the letter that I sent in. Is that
part-
okay?
It's in the packet, Patty.
It's in the packet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to touch on it.
You still have the right to speak for 5 minutes though, so I would read your letter.
Go ahead. There's many reasons for Crane and Cat to continue as businesswomen in our charming community. As they add as much needed representation of charm. They bring customers, tourists to the city. As a matter of fact, when people come to visit us, they say, hey, what's about that new shop over there? I'll say, you've got to go visit it.
Yes.
And they have been back more than once to visit them because they agreed that, oh my gosh, you guys have more businesses coming in. That's what you guys need in this town. Customers have expressed their pleasure to adding to Amador City. Corinne and Kat represent and support this fine community. We need more business to bring people to the city. Reasons not to evict them. City council needs to support business, not defeat it. Loss of rent for the city that is already in need of funds. Amount of hours that the city needs to conduct their business can be deducted somewhere else. Hell, to me, he just fully nailed it by saying, hey, here's, you guys can go where, let these guys continue with the business. There's an option right here. I mean, that should make all of you smile, that people are willing to work with us. We have been in business, okay? A good city council works for the business, not against it. Please do the right thing. Take care of your wonderful city and the merchants who really make it all possible. Thank you.
There are more than just one. Hi, I'm Caitlin Fleming. I live off of Bunker Hill. So to tell a short story, my wife and I bought in this community. We were told about how amazing it is, how wonderful it is, how we were welcome, that our family was welcome, and to hear that people are going to be kicked out. I had a conversation with my daughter today. She helped Kat set up that shop. And My daughter sat there and cried in the car today about how she's gonna be kicked out. My daughter spent a lot of time helping me help Kat set up that shop. My daughter is so excited. She got to see two wonderful women come into a place and thrive, and everyone talks about their shop. It's not acceptable to let our young, fearless leaders that are coming out and seeing this to see how deplorable this is. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna say this, I might be hated, but we shouldn't be having a person that we're paying for through city funds that is doing this to city people. We shouldn't have somebody being paid by the city doing this, allowing people who are trying to thrive and letting our little humans watch two amazing women thrive and take them out. I don't think it's reasonable, and I don't think that our city and our money that's coming in here should be paying for a person that's interested in doing something like that. So Mayor and the rest of City Council, I implore you to look at what our employees are doing for our town, how they're working, what they're doing within our city, and if it makes sense. Because at this point, I don't think that the person that is sitting here in front of us represents a town that my family wants to live in. I don't think it represents.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Just dollars. And pay for your rent.
I'm sorry, Kim, that's not acceptable. So you have the ability to come up after Rob and to speak in public comment, but shouting out and targeting people is not acceptable. You can leave if you want to continue that. Thank you. Rob.
Hi, City Council. Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Holgate, owner and winemaker of Holgate Hill. I've been in a business in town for 6 years. I have seen businesses come and go, they ebb and flow. It's been hard many times, not just now, but it feels hard right now, as the city has a lot of empty buildings right now in terms of businesses. I've seen businesses come and go. The firehouse where Kat and Corinne currently are is exceptional for a business. And to see it go to City Council for the limited time that City Council meets and get rid of another business in town just doesn't make sense in a city that looks empty all the time right now. I'm there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it feels dead. I've luckily been able to make it 6 years, and it's unfortunate that the city is trying to remove two businesses, not just one, when we have the other side of town where Andre's Bakery used to be and the tavern is completely empty. So I urge City Council and everyone here to not kick them out and look for another building, because it's so detrimental for them and for businesses like me, because I don't know what the future is going to hold for Amador City. I've 6 years. I'm just hopeful that you guys all make a decision and find an alternative option and support the city that we all care and love for. Thank you.
Bill.
Bill Schneider, patron of many of the businesses in town here. My question is, if you do eventually go ahead with the eviction, are you going to reimburse Kat and Colleen for all the improvements that they made in the firehouse? If you do not, will she just take everything with her, and then you will have to pay to put in new lights and everything else that she will have taken with her? And that's really what it's a financial thing. You're gonna lose the rent, you're gonna lose the tax revenue that they bring in, and you say it's, you know, that it's going to be cheaper for the city because you won't pay rent, but there are obviously really bad feelings that are being generated by this whole action. And is that something that we want our town to be torn apart by? And you will have to pay there will be some financial outlay on your part if Pat walks away with all the improvements that she made. So that's it.
Is there more public comment?
Only is two.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to, everybody, we have, you can only speak twice. Hal, you can speak again after everybody else.
Right.
Husband, wife.
Hi, everybody. I love all of you.
Yeah.
You're not a very good speaker. I speak from the heart. Came to this town about almost 24 and a half years ago. When I came, there were people in the streets and they were waving me, come on in, come on in. It would be people from the old fashioned clothes to the modern clothes to whatever. It was a town of great love. We came here, San Francisco, and our heart stayed. I've been here ever since. And I only have a couple of things to say. My heart is here and it will always be here. And I love all of you. And I'm sad for this confusion, chaoticness, and lack of love. And it's coming from somebody that is a person that needs to love a lot more. I'm not a very good person. So, I'm trying my best, but so I don't know how else to say. I should love a lot more. I don't know how else to say. But my heart is saying that I've been very comfortable here and loved it with all my heart. We invited everybody in when we had dancing in the streets. My husband said to me, you're inviting everybody into this place, to our house. And I said, how the hell am I going to meet them if I don't? I invited everybody I know in the streets years ago to come to my house. And they were always welcome, and they still are always welcome in my house. So the only sadness I have in my heart is nothing. I've loved this place for all these years, but recently in the last couple of months or half the year, I've only had two things to complain about. Number one is I had a friend, I didn't know her really well, but I got to know her in Center Creek. She came here to this town, and for some reason, she didn't feel welcome. I kind of know the story, but I don't want to go the story. I love everybody, and people have to work it out. She left. But now I have two other women that I love very much, and I got to know them in this town. And their heart has been so giving for all the years I've been here. I do nothing. I just come and I enjoy everything. I'm not a giver. I don't, what's the word? Make myself available as I should. But the two women that are here now, all I have to say is, where's the love for them right now? Every time I've been in this town, they're always volunteering. They're always doing something for free. They're just out and about and they're loving us. And I don't know why you're gonna throw them just there. End of story. Love you all. Good luck in your decisions.
Okay, Hal, can you follow that? Yeah.
Yeah. I admire what you people do up here serving as government officials. It's not easy to do.
And it's volunteer.
There's always a spot available. I know I've been asked several times.
And you've said no.
I said no several times. I have another gig that I do for 25 years on the fire board. That's my gig, and I'll stick with that till they put me in. The original decision that seems to have been made is the easy decision. Options have been presented to you tonight, and I'm sure you've seen them in the letters. Now it's time for you to make a hard decision, to change your mind and do what you weren't planning to do, because the people of this city want it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else before Jill comes back up? Okay, come on up, Jill. Oh, no, you're welcome to speak again.
Businesses come and businesses go, and no restaurant or any of the business owners that don't live in Amador City. Pat and Cream live in Amador City.
No, they don't. They don't live in the city.
They live more locally than anybody else technically, they may not, but they live here and they have much more vested interest in having a successful business here.
Mhm.
Other people can, oh, I'm not making it, I'll go someplace else. This is their home, and this is where they want to be.
Mhm.
Things down.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Public comments closed. It comes back up to city council for any discussion.
I agree with everything they said.
Okay.
I'd be interested to hear more about this offer by the fire department.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something we can go into right now, but
It's hearsay to us. The city has not been approached by anyone saying, oh, we are going to allow you to have our space for no rent or no whatever, or you can have it for this long. None of the offers that have been referred to have been made personally to the city. We have not been contacted. I'm sorry that we can't go into that offer. In addition to which, it's hearsay unless it has come to us. And I'm going to ask you to not comment. Please.
I won't comment. Thank you. You're lying. You are lying.
I'm gonna give you one warning that if you continue to shout out in a disrespectful manner, we're gonna ask you to leave.
No problem. I'll sit here and smile.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
If we have not, I'm going to check with our attorney, Pat. If the city has not received an offer ourselves, is it hearsay, or is it something we can seriously entertain?
You mean for an alternative?
Yes.
What about Hal? Hal's offer.
Well, let me
No.
clarify there. Let me clarify.
That's not illegal, that's kind of a business decision as to whether another alternative. You'd ask me to review,
I did. I was just accused of lying, and I'm just verifying that.
So Mayor, let me clarify. I did have a discussion with Dominic Moreno on Tuesday night when I attended as an appointed member of the fire board.
No, so you
but
do
this-
have information.
It's what Hal said, but at this point, there's been no negotiation, no discussion. And I would disagree with Hal in the sense that when we talked about it, the discussion with Dominic was between he and I, that they had a place where we could meet. There was no discussion of where we could keep our records. That was not brought up. The one thought that had been floated out there is that we move the fire truck and use that space as an office space, which would then give us a secured space. But that doesn't meet the requirements that our insurance places upon us or OSHA requirements we have to have for the safety of our employees. So I think to clarify what Hal said, Dominic is saying, take the fire truck out, put your records in that space, not the space that they have in Sutter Creek.
Okay.
Oh, he will let us do that?
Well, no, he's just
Here in
throwing
town?
out as an idea that we could secure the records there. The problem that comes with that is I can't have city employees for our insurance accessing that building with the current structure that it has with that big heavy door out of fear that something might happen. Again, part of this that hasn't been discussed is the reduction of liability. If we could stay in this space that we're in now and not have this, we would do that. But there is an inherent liability there, as well as the fact that we don't have access. So it's the same there. Just by moving the fire engine out doesn't give us an adequate space to put the records. Again, there's a single light bulb. There's a big door that has to be.
There are 5 lights.
There's a single light bulb.
I measured it.
But here's the deal, Susan. I have to have a space where these records be kept and accessed by staff. Yes, it's an alternative. As I said earlier, I explored other alternatives. This, other than what these individuals within this conversation today feel, this is the least restrictive ability to meet the needs of the city, given other criteria that I've discussed this evening. So again, there's more than just moving a business or moving a city hall. There's other requirements that we have to meet. First and foremost is our insurance. The last thing I should do in this job, or this council should do, is put at risk the insurance coverage that we have. And if we create a liability, our attorney will be more than happy to explain the risk that's created and the liability that comes with it. And if we're a liability risk, insurance will have the right to cancel.
I think we have insurance on that building.
Right, but it's not for that purpose.
It's not for employees.
Why don't you pursue it more?
Yeah.
Can do.
Okay,
Can't do.
Okay,
okay,
well,
public comments closed, Corinne. And I'm sorry, did you make a question for Corinne?
Oh, I just asked about the fire situation.
Well,
You have a question about the fire station?
the space, the fact that you haven't been given any proposals. We offered you 3 different possible places. It was up to you guys to pursue that, not for us to come and say, yeah, I'll give you my space. We told you 3 viable spaces. And in fact, we read one of the letters out here earlier. And so it was up to you, or not Bruce personally, but to look at those. And I know Bruce went over to visit Connie's and you looked at the firehouse. And so you guys knew that there were off things, and it was up to you guys, because we don't know what the requirements were. It was up to you guys to go and investigate.
And I can respond somewhat to that. The letters and the emails that you submitted and wanted to have in the packet you brought them in on February 10th, 10 days ago. And notice had already been given. We had explored options. If you made suggestions after notice had been given, we can't pursue them. Notice had been given.
well, hold on. This is an assumption that we didn't view other options. The presumption here is that we chose one thing and we acted on it. That is a mischaracterization of what's happening. So,
what would you do if this, I'm talking to you, hey.
Dan, I'm gonna give you the same advice I gave Kim. You can come up and speak respectfully, or you can sit back down.
Well, I came up here to talk, and he's turning and said, talking to somebody else. I thought that was disrespectful.
I agree.
What would you do
Mhm.
if that building wasn't available? What would the alternatives be? Certainly, you'd find something else that you didn't own that building. The second thing is, what's the value of the turmoil that you're creating, the hardship, the hard feelings you're creating here? That's the human side of it. Sure, you have some objective things you're saying, and they make sense. But let's factor in people on this whole product.
Thank you. Okay. I want to thank you all for being here. Public comments closed. Neil, I'm sorry. If it was closed a minute ago. We opened it up. We're going to need to wrap up this meeting. I want to thank you all for being here. I also want to close with my comments. Our comments in terms of city council are for smooth governments and a focus on the welfare of the citizenry of Amador City. Now that precludes the happiness of the larger community. It includes that we provide services that are the benefit of the citizenry of the city and meet the needs of the city, and secondarily do of the business community. We have contracts for law enforcement, fire protection. Our big focus now is the sewer. And if you all really want to come to a lively discussion, come next month, because we're going to be talking about the sewer and the fact that it needs $60,000 of immediate infrastructure.
You should keep collecting rent from this business.
I'm going to ask you not to interrupt one more time, and then here you go. Thank you. The other issue we need to face is we did look into what it would cost to have a mobile office, not even knowing we didn't really have a location for it. That's $62,000 a year. The rent we collect is $6,600 a year. There's a big difference there. And in our fiscal responsibility to public dollars, which are largely from, Dave said it earlier, property taxes from people who own homes and buildings within city limits, vehicle registration, again, people who live within city limits generate that, the TOT tax from tourists, and the very small portion is sales tax revenue. And that we have, as volunteer people up here in a very, thankless kind of position, those are the missions we are charged with. And the largest one of those is fiscal responsibility.
But you don't even know if the insurance is gonna pay anything. You haven't made that determination yet.
They don't, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, there is no more interruption, please. I was speaking. I will.
No. But we are not representing your city.
Publicly can.
I'm embarrassed for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should have his contract.
How long is it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No.
This is your city walking out of here.
Actually, no, you're not.
Everyone that I can find.
Do what we want.
You don't represent the city. Can you guys work it out? Love you, I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of place, but where's the love?
Sandy, you said he cannot be represented now. I mean, would that be?
I'm sorry, what?
An opportunity for you guys to go to what house you said? Would that be still an option we're looking at? Yes.
I can't answer that, Patty.
Okay, well, let's hope that that can happen.
Okay. That's not even within city limits, Patty, but thank you. It's not within city limits, but I thank you.
I'll try and word it, city limits, that's about the difference.
And our hands are tied because we didn't make a decision.
This is not a decision.
The neighbors to get on. That's what this is.
Like I said, we tell it to Victoria.
They can also get us in since we started.
I do have some more, yeah. Anyone who'd like to leave is welcome to. We have a few more things to wrap up in city council, so you're welcome to stay as well.
Okay.
My town too.
Yeah. I know.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'd like to say something.
I think you can wait a minute, Susan.
What?
I think you can wait a minute or two, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thanks. Okay. I want to say that it's because it's my turn to comment, okay? So this is mine. I'm second generation upper poor, and I grew up never owning property, and I don't own property now, never have. I'm a tenant, long time. And the experience y'all are emotional about is my lived experience. I know what this feels like. I know what it's like to have an apartment owner say, we're turning it into condos and you all need to be out in 30 days. I know what it's like to have a family. Oh, and my landlord died at one point after I'd lived there 10 years. I had my baby born in that house and say, we're putting it on the market. You know, Margaret died. I know what that's like. And it's not easy, and it's not easy for anyone. And I think it's, you know, but at its basis, this is a landlord-tenant decision. And again, we are holding public dollars, your tax dollars, the money you give here. We have roads, we have things that the city needs. Y'all want your sewers to flush. We want you to know what's not flushable, so we don't have the sewer get all clogged up all the time. We've got, you know, as I said, a lot of money that has to go into that repair. And the idea of $62,000 for an office trailer, the idea of paying $2,400 in rent, which is what some of these properties go for, is irresponsible for us as a city. We own 3 buildings and we cannot be in this one. And as landlords, we looked at, what do? Well, we are going to have to move into the one that we are currently renting. The one that ironically is called Old City Hall because it was once City Hall. I think this has morphed into a very unfortunate situation. We are waiting for $1,897.02 in back PG&E bills. We are looking at probably not collecting rent for the next couple of months. And we're looking at a lot of accusation when in truth, City Hall in the past 10 years, and I've checked minutes, City Council does not make the decisions on who to rent to, who to not rent to, how much the rent is, how long to rent. City Council's never made those decisions. It has gone to mayor and it's gone to our city manager or administrator, whatever title that is. And it was a hard decision. It was a hard decision. And I'm, you know, not happy that everyone is making this very personal when it
is personal. That man right there has been.
I'm sorry.
Since the day that you rented that building to these 2 ladies and you didn't consult him, he's been pissed off ever since. And his attitude.
It's my turn. It's my turn, Craig.
Kick me out, call the cops. I'm just telling you, I know what it is. It's personal. He has been pissed ever since you guys went over his head.
And I'm gonna ask you to rise above and not make it personal right now.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. It's very obvious. I think most people in this room here tonight saw it was obvious. So, take it for what it's worth, but that's what it is. There's alternatives if you haven't looked at one of them.
We looked at alternatives.
Yeah, the trailer, 50,000, I don't blame you.
62,000.
Okay, so I don't blame you.
No.
That's not an alternative.
No, it's not.
And. Anybody talk to Connie Peterson? Did you talk to her?
Connie's not come to us with anything, Craig.
Well, whatever.
Sorry. We own 3 buildings. We have to move. We are moving into the 3rd building that the city owns. So with that, I think we're going to truncate the rest of the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. I'm sorry. What do you want?
I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know why this is discussion only and that we can't take any.
What action did you take?
Look at these alternatives. Hal's suggestion. That's a good, that's a good one. Why don't we consider it? But we can't take any action. It's crazy.
It's not. We're following the procedures and the practices the city has done for more than a decade.
You itemized it as discussion only, and we can't make a decision.
Susan, I do the agenda.
Then you did.
I did.
And we should have been able to make a decision. And we can't. It's crazy. I think we should look at all these alternatives.
Have you looked at any of them that you
Yes,
heard about?
I measured the firehouse, and it's a very nice room. A door could be put in, the sliding door. I'm an architect. I know what a door looks like. It's not that difficult.
I'm gonna speak that in terms of that building has the two sides to it. We would be using both sides of that as a city.
I don't know. Oh, you mean the toilets? And I
No,
don't know what you mean.
where the firehouse, the fire station, where the fire truck is in the other building. We would need to use both those spaces.
No, it's 11.5 feet by 25.5 feet.
Mhm.
And it's a room we could use for 10 months. And I just don't know why we're not considering it.
Mhm. We need that room in.
And the firehouse in Sutter Creek, that's logical. But we can't make a decision.
Bruce.
Can we
Bruce.
can we put this off and do a little more research?
That'd be
I
nice.
mean, I have talked to Connie and Roger.
Mhm.
They would rather not rent the space, but they will.
Mhm.
But I'd rather not do that.
Mhm.
Personally, I think our firehouse, our garage would be a perfect spot.
Yeah,
Like you said, put a door in.
we own it. It's insured.
Mhm.
Why not look into it?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's got new wiring.
Mhm.
It's all updated
Mhm.
for garage.
At least spend a week looking into it.
That's two council members that sound sympathetic to looking into other options. I don't know about, you haven't spoken.
Well,
I'm
we also
sorry.
have, I mean, there's the tavern. I think Kevin offered the tavern. I think that could be looked at as well.
It's a very small space.
It is. It is.
Mhm. Okay.
And I'll just throw this out there. Kat and her business partner, Corinne, contacted Kevin, and he could make that space available to them as well. Like they're free to to stay in the market by making an agreement with him. Again, they have that option. The thing that has been thrown out there is they have other options too. There are other business. I understand they want to stay in Amador City. We have to stay in Amador City. This is where we do business and conduct business. We have restrictions on us. They don't have those same restrictions. And if Kevin is willing to give us a price, he would probably give them the same price. And we talk about good faith. He could offer that same thing to them. And to be honest, that tavern is more set up for their type of business anyway, than what they conduct. So just to say that we haven't looked at the options, that is a misfact that is not correct. Now, I will say this, and to Hal's point, that discussion was had on Tuesday. However, we have already started this process. And so there's a certain amount to carrying through with the decision we make. It's the council can give its input as it wants to, and it can make decisions. However, I will just continue to say again, I didn't act outside the scope of what I've been given, what I've been asked to do. I simply acted by the authority vested in me in my contract and what has been the procedure and precedent of the city. Now, again, to some of the comments that this is dividing the city. On the flip side, just because individuals weren't here this evening in support, doesn't mean that there aren't also individuals in support. One of the reasons also why city managers or city administrators have this responsibility is because when tough decisions have to be made, they're not to be made and swayed by the public. And that's exactly what this meeting has done here tonight. And I will put this on the record, including personal attacks to my religious belief. So if you want to talk about dividing a city, let's be more than transparent and include personal attacks, which I will weather. And I will say, we're not, as much as they want to say that this is vendetta, there is no vendetta. Because vendetta would have been when they didn't meet the requirements of the lease, which they have not, we would have sent them a 3-day eviction months and months ago. And that's all I'm gonna say to it.
And. Mhm.
I would like to say that I regret that it got to that point. You know, I think I would have run out, well, more of the audience probably, but I would like to look at some alternatives,
And so.
Yeah.
if at all
Well, and
possible.
Bruce, within the Brown Act, we can individually, I can't do it with the entire council.
We can have a special meeting.
Yes.
Susan, what you're asking for doesn't look at options. What you're looking for is an option, an ability to discuss with me my responsibilities. So if you want to do that, the council can appoint an individual council member to work with me, because here's the deal. As much as we have to be careful in what we do in all things, we cannot violate the Brown Act and create even more problems for the city.
A special meeting, we would have a public meeting.
We just had that.
We can have another one.
Okay, so if you want me to work with a council member and go look at these options and have that discussion, I'm open to it. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can change the course that we're on, but I'm happy to do that. Again, I serve at the pleasure of the council, and I've never said that I wouldn't discuss those options. Again, the reason why we acted in the haste that we did is we got notice on the 16th. We have to be out of this building on the 1st of April to allow us to move into where we're gonna be, because construction starts here on the 15th. So part of the problem is it's a timeline that we don't have any say in. It's being dictated and mandated to us by the construction process. Because at the end of the day, we're already looking at 8 months to a year, let alone if they ever find any other problems in this building or any other things that delay construction. And I've made this joke many times, but I've watched enough HGTV with my wife to know there isn't a construction project that goes on time. And so we are faced with additional time even beyond a year, possibly. And so that's the mandated schedule for us. So I know when everybody likes to say you didn't take the adequate time, we've had 2 years to try and figure out, only to come to find out a month or so ago what our true options were, because that's what the insurance company is going to allow us to do in the construction process.
And you're against having a special meeting
What's the point of the special meeting?
to talk about alternatives
But we have to discuss those alternatives first, Susan.
at a
So
special meeting.
Hold on. No, not at a special meeting. If you set a special meeting, it defeats the purpose
So
of
Bruce can
having
work
that
with you.
discussion. We've got to have something to bring to the council first. Just to say, let's have a special meeting, that's
I
pointless.
have
What I'm
something to
saying is,
bring to the meeting.
okay, so then do you want to be the person I work with then?
I'm
And
not
we can look
sure.
at the options?
Let's appoint one person to work with Dave, to look at the options, and then we can have a special meeting if you want to.
Here's the other part, Bruce,
Well,
is
but-
you don't need a special
We
meeting.
won't take any
You should-
alternatives.
Susan,
I'm gonna
that's
ask
a-
you to be respectful of the
Okay, because I've tried it. Okay.
Susan, on the record of that, if you're gonna make a comment like that, I'm gonna say, I sat across the table with you a week ago and we discussed this. And at that time, you were appeased by the answers. So it's fair to say that the public has given you suggestions, which again, you didn't bring to me this week. So to say that I'm unwilling to listen, I've been more than willing to listen and have worked with you through this entire process, as I have with the council members, except for Melanie, given her appointment, in the appropriate way that follows the Brown Act, because I'm not going to be the one, as you should not, that violates those rules and gets the city in a liable situation. So if you can't work with me, Susan, my suggestion is you have 3 other members to suggest that they work with me, and I'm happy to do that. What's that?
One of the 3.
One of them.
Okay.
I suggest you direct the city manager to pursue other options post haste, and one of the 4 of you volunteer to be the person that works with him on it.
No, I say that it.
That will not-
Because there's.
that will
issues
apply
with
to-
Okay. Thank you, Hal. And I don't take my direction from you, but I appreciate the guidance. Thank you. Okay. we are going to have a time limit of 10 days in which one council member of you two will be charged with working on alternatives, getting the information and discussing feasibility with our advisors over here. 10 days. That's it. That's all we had. That's all Dave and I had. And you're, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Public comments closed right now.
We're just trying to understand.
I'm giving direction to the council. And the council is one council member will be charged with working with Dave and our advisors to gather information on alternatives that adhere to the 5 requirements that the city is bound to. It's a government entity that serves the public. It has to be ADA accessible. It is a government entity with employees. It has to adhere to OSEP laws. It has to be secure for public records. It has to be available for governance up to 30 hours a week. We range on any one week, 15 to 30 hours. It's open for, we work in this building a lot longer. We have to have it for a year and we have to be fiscally responsible. The rent has to be no more than $550 per month for a year. With those requirements, 10 days. Y'all meet, we'll have a special council meeting to share the information. Whether or not there's any actionable item will be determined once the committee has, once the 3 of you have worked together.
Could you go over the items I've got? ADA, OSHA, secure, the documents.
I'll repeat them, Joyce. It has to be, we serve the general public. It has to be ADA accessible by law to government buildings. That's not made up. Government buildings, we adhere to it. We have employees. We have to deal with OSHA. It has to be an environment that the insurance company approves of for liability and safety reasons for the employees.
Well, that basically is OSHA.
Yep.
Okay.
And we,
Simple, I can't take every note, every word.
if I just say OSHA and there's somebody in the room that doesn't understand, then I've been remiss. So I have to go through that. We have to have a place where government documents can be secure.
Okay, I got that.
We have to have a place where governance can happen up to 30 hours a week. We need the space for a guaranteed year. Minimum, perhaps longer. And we have to be fiscally responsible.
That 550 a month.
That's it, because people have pointed out that, you know, that is revenue for the city. We're not getting it. It's $6,600 a year of revenue. And if we're fiscally responsible, we are not going to pay more than that. So that's your mandate.
So it's, let me just review. So one council person.
One council.
Dave.
Yep. So you two can draw a short straw on that one. And Pat, our legal advisor, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I think an additional criteria would be to pose the direct question to the insurance company about whether or not we have coverage for alternative housing.
I can answer that. We can.
That's already been answered.
It's answered.
Documentation should be,
Yep.
that would be a good thing to put in the record in terms of, because that will limit the range of alternatives from a financial standpoint.
Thank you.
If there's no insurance company money available, then that limits the city's options, I would say.
We already have that answer and we'll have the documentation for you. And the other piece of business is what's, Dave and I were thorough. I mean, I know you all are doubting that we even, you know, put any effort into it, but we were thorough and we considered all of the factors, knowing full well that this was not going to be a comfortable decision for us to make, nor would it be received very well. And I think, you know, we can satisfy that moving forward. The way this has played out has been unfortunate all the way around. I just can't even. The emails that I got between January 28th and the day I wrote the letter were, in fact, all the emails I've gotten have been horrid, but they were horrid as well. And what they told me was that the information was out before the city had had a chance to act. And I was already a target for that. And I was totally caught off guard for it. And that is why I wrote that letter. It was not saying you all are being mean to me, but that letter was saying, was a response to the fact the information was out and people were already on their high horse. People who do not reside in Amador City. Our sphere of influence is the city limits. And I appreciate that people come into the city. And I love that people come into the city, but we don't have any control over that. We serve a very small footprint and a very small population. And I'm sorry for all of that. It's hard. This is worse than middle school. It is. And I think the behavior has sunk to the level of middle school. And unfortunately, middle school, I had a little bit of authority. I was the grown-up in the room. Didn't happen here. But I want to thank you all. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. It's adjourned. We're done.
I appoint Bruce.
Melanie? You need to learn this.
Whichever of you draws the short straw, my telephone number,
He will talk to them. Thank
you
you.
should talk to Donald again, because I'm the chair of the board. The board will make a decision.
We also have to adhere to city governance and it belongs
I
in
think we
city.
can satisfy the 5 things. The only,
But how?
No, Cal, don't negotiate in front of us. Brown Act, Brown Act,
It's secure.
Brown Act.
But
Yeah,
secure room can only be accessed by our employee. Awesome. Okay. And then how?
Cal?
that may be the one thing.
Well, okay, and I just want to say that whatever information is shared with Bruce, it's not made in a contract, it's not made negotiable. You can say, these are the things we can offer you. He brings it back as an offer. Do not negotiate.
And don't give it to the public. And I just want to make one comment about his comment about the schedule and Home and Garden TV. None of those projects were managed by me, okay?
Got it.
We know that.
I strive on time and under budget,
And
okay?
under budget.
It's expensive, I know, it's hard.
No,
I love you guys, and I know it's a hard
no,
decision.
read the letters that have come to me.
I have nothing. I have seen nothing, I just know, I just thought.
I have sympathy on both sides.
Okay, well, I'm not asking anything, I just want somebody to work out. It's very hard. Yeah, no, but I just want to, I haven't shown it to my friend.
Welcome to the council. I tried to warn you. Did you get my message?